Hey guys, welcome to Odyssey USA. Today we're going to be installing the Grimm Off-Road winch plate along with my Comeup Seal Slim 9.5 winch that was previously on my red Jeep. And I want to tell you the reasons why I chose this winch plate. It's only about $320 right now. It's 1/4 inch thick steel to prevent flexing during a recovery. Some are thinner. The Fairlead mount is also supported just like the 1/4 inch thick Warren winch plate, which I like that one too. But this one is only 25 pounds versus the Warren's 40 pounds. You can see the one-piece design here and where they have removed material where it's not needed, also simplifying installation. Let's get to it. All right, so I've already got the end caps off, and the next step is we're going to remove the 7 bolts retaining the skid plate here. It's overkill, but it's faster and my drill won't cut it. This is a 13mm socket. All right, so for the last one, be ready to catch it. Now you're going to come to the passenger side frame rail. Push this button here on the side. I always like to, with these connectors, push in first and then pull, just like that. All right, so I'm going to remove these bolts here so I can get better access to the inner bumper bolts. Next, we're going to remove the plastic plug where the Fairlead will go. We're going to start with these bottom tabs here. Just going to push down, push forward. Now we're going to come to the other side with our other hand. As we push the tab down on the back, we're going to lift this side up and just work our way along the 3 tabs on the bottom. And if for some reason it grabs up top, just push the tab down. It'll come out pretty easy. And tab to push in up top. And there we go. Next, you're going to need an 18mm deep well socket and a ratchet. And if you want to modify your 2018 to 2023 Wrangler Grille to where you can get the grill off without having to bring it forward, which sometimes the winch, depending on the body style of your winch, can be in the way of that. So an easy way to make it accessible later to where you can just pop the grill out and lift straight up is to remove these 4 tabs right here. I've not seen anybody do this. I've seen people remove the metal clip and then cut what's left of the plastic off. I'm going to give you an easy button on this. So just grab it firmly and give it a twist. If your Jeep didn't originally come with steel bumpers, then you're going to want to install these 4 rivet nuts. Grimm Off-Road gives them to you so that you can install the skid plate mounting brackets that I showed you. I'll leave a link in the description to a great video that gets right into it right there at the beginning to show you how I would do it. Now you're going to need 2 zip ties. What we're doing here is we're going to put them right here. And what you're doing is you are holding this bracket in place because the next step, make sure it's tight. The next step is we're going to remove this bolt and the one on the other side. It's a 16mm socket. Now to remove the 2 bolts holding the skid plate bracket on. Those are also 16mm, and do the same on the other side. Try what I was talking about first. Let's clamp one side maybe. Well, you're hitting down here on the frame horn. Yeah, that's going to be tight. Ease of installation. Okay, this is going to be my second attempt trying to get the Grimm Off-Road winch plate to fit between these two brackets. So what I decided to do was use some wood clamps. I just need to get it up on this edge. The clamp's in the way of lining up the hole. I'm just going to worry about getting it up on this edge first and take the clamp off and then line it up, hopefully. Man, I'm just now starting to scratch my head. Oh, no. Right. Oh, it just fell out over here though. I'm going to try 4 zip ties. I just brought a whole bag. All right. Let's try doing these bottom holes here, because it is kind of wiggling around too much for me. It's being a pain. You know what? I think I'm gonna do even one better if I can find some way. I'll just come around here. It's all right. Hopefully this makes it considerably easier. All right. That is on there. All right. I didn't go through the outer bracket to save some zip tie, but with 3 I could have. Tap it just a little, get the bolt holes to line up. All right, let's see what it looks like now. See if I've got any more room to work with. Ooh. Oh, hey, that was it. Didn't even have to use a hammer. I might use it just a little bit though. There we go. Looky, looky. That's how you do it. Zip tie here, here, and all the way around the frame rails to hold this bracket as tight as you can that way. And it went right up in there pretty much, you know. The Grimm Off-Road kit does come with some winch plate mounting bolts. These are rated 10.9. Next, reinstall your skid plate brackets on both sides. They'll sandwich in between your frame horn and the winch plate. If by chance it's a real tight fit, you may need a pry bar and put it in there and open it up a little bit, get it started, and then tap it up in there if you have to. Doing this alone, I don't want to fumble around with the positive and negative cable as I try to set it down as much as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and get those started. I've got the winch on a little roll around rack. I'm going to get those started coming through here. I've had good luck in the past coming through this direction. And then where I came up, you can make it out. See that light there in the center of the screen? I came up through there and went this direction. So now we're going to set the winch down on the winch plate. All right, gonna put a few zip ties on to secure everything. Let's get these two cables bundled together. Now I'm gonna secure them to the battery tray using this hole right here. I've run these two cables, positive and your negative, through this hole right here. And in the plastic battery tray, there's another hole down here I can use to secure them. So I'm gonna come up behind them, run it down in this hole. I wouldn't make it super tight, that way just in case you need to manipulate the cables a little bit, you can slide them in and out. So here's how I opted to route the winch cables. I've got it zip tied in a couple of places there between the two. Together it's pretty rigid. I did come close to the studs here, even though it wasn't making contact. I opted to put a 1/4 inch foam around 3/4 of the way around it, and then put a zip tie on that so it's not going anywhere. Following along here, I used a 13mm nut. I couldn't find the torque spec for this stud or the one I used over here on the positive terminal. So what you're looking for is just tight enough to where when you wiggle it, it's not going to twist side to side. Following along here, over here, I've got it zip tied to the battery box just to try to minimize movement again. And then up here is a 12mm nut. This is the factory nut. So have a 12mm, wiggle it again. And with that, you're done. Now we're gonna mount the winch. Make sure you follow your winch manufacturer's recommended torque. And the nuts they supply with the winch, it's not a bad idea. You can put some grease or some silicone on the nuts before you slide them in place. Make sure they don't fall out and move around too much. You can still put your finger up in there. Make sure the nut's in the right spot. We're just looking for vibration resistance and to keep the bolt from backing out, so I am using medium thread locker. So we'll start with this one and see what it feels like. This particular winch wants it torqued to 63.8 Newton meters, and I think that's about 47 foot-pounds. All right. That one moved a little bit, just a tiny bit. Same. Let's go around one more time. I don't think that one did. That one did not. Tiny bit. Let's go around one more time. Nothing. 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 I think we're good. Now it's time to install your Fairlead mounting plate. That's what it looks like. And you'll take these button heads right here. Make sure you put one of the stainless washers. There's actually these long bolts. That's not what you're looking for. You're looking for the shorter version of those. They are 40mm long. And you'll put those lock nuts on the back. And that is a 15mm socket, and that's an M6. Now torque it to 40 foot-pounds. And before you tighten all this up, make sure that this Fairlead mounting plate doesn't obstruct the hole on the bumper side. Just make sure it's nice and even all the way around. Just feel it. You know you've got the Fairlead mounting plate mounted level and evenly. Looking at it from the back side, you can see the position here, this hole. That's the Fairlead mounting plate on the bottom. It's even. And you can see, like Grimm Off-Road suggests, that the actual steel bumper, the hole in it, is not obstructed at all. I had to go to O'Reilly's to get some new inserts here. A couple of them had broken as I was taking it off. Again, they had thread locker, and a couple of them just didn't like being taken apart. I will give you a heads up though. I've used these before, and I would shoot these with paint. They look like they're painted, but they rusted in a matter of a couple months. So I'd shoot them with some good paint and try to prevent that corrosion. So we're at the point now where we're going to try to put this bumper on. And thinking ahead, I got some thin wall sockets. Got those from O'Reilly Auto Parts as well. And there's the 18 that I'm going to need for the bumper nuts. I don't know if I will have a problem getting up in there, but I've heard that this is the hardest one to reach. And I'm going to have to come back through here. And it is a 3/8 drive socket. That's what they had. That's fine actually, because the torque specs that a 3/8 drive socket will go up to are 80 foot-pounds. So the spec that they give for the bumper nuts is 67. So we should be good there. And plus two, everything, well, the extension will be a little skinnier, hopefully to be able to get up in there easier. And I'll just use a 1/2-inch drive to 3/8 drive adapter to step it down to use my torque wrench. One thing that you may want to know, I don't know if I'm going to run into it yet, but obviously you'll see. If you can't get in here to these, you're going to have to put the bumper on, and these are going to have to be loose. So the bolts that are mounting the winch to the winch plate, there's no other way around it apparently with my research. You're going to have to loosen everything up, tighten these inner nuts up, and then you're able to use a torque wrench on the rear, but these two front ones, after you tighten those rear ones, you're just going to have to use feel and try to get it close. Before we slide the bumper in place, I just need some vibration protection for the nuts. I like using a blue thread locker, and this is a gel, so it's not messy. I don't have any metal, so I just need to slide the synthetic rope through, and let's just slip it into place. All right. It's all the way on. Now I want to start with the hardest ones first, the top inner. See how that goes. Getting my hand up in there. Hopefully it's not too bad with an extension and a thin wall socket. And they'll be torqued to 67 foot-pounds. All right, so pardon the shakiness. I'm trying to do this with one hand and show you. This is the passenger side inner bumper stud here on the lower, obviously. If you leave the top nuts loose enough, you can rock it that way. And I think you can get your hand up in there. Let's see if I can use my knee on the other side of the bumper here. Use this little hole here. Really can't show you, it's so tight in there. But hey, I got it. Got it started. All right, I'm coming at this side from the top. I was able to get the socket on. It's still kind of loose, so I have to hold the extension. I'll go ahead and show you. I've got a flex head here. I'm not really using the flex portion of this ratchet here. I do have a 3/8 wobble extension. You can see the egg shape there. And using that along with this thin wall 18mm. It seems to be working so far. We'll see if I can get a torque wrench in there though. Okay, I've struggled with this driver lower side on the inside of the frame rail. I'll try to show you what I'm talking about. Your socket, the socket itself has to go in at a little bit of an angle. So what I did, just out of desperation, I loosened everything up and I tried to just hit this as hard as I could using my body, my weight to try to shift it over, hopefully get a couple of thousandths to try to get a better angle on that, or lack of angle, and we'll see if it works. But you can kind of see the situation there. Socket is still crooked. It's not awful. I don't know, maybe I made it a little better. Hopefully as the nut moves onward, I'm hoping it gives me some kind of ability to get on the nut more. So I've got to be careful in the meantime to not have it pop off and start rounding edges off the nut. All right, that seems to be about the best angle I can get. I don't know if I can maintain it as I'm turning the ratchet, so I know this shot's a little blurry. There it is, it's focused. But we're gonna go slow and steady. Yeah, these lower inners are definitely the worst because the winch plate itself keeps you from coming in straight. And there's not a whole lot of room to move, as you can see. I would recommend a longer ratchet like I've got here. I don't know. I'm going to guess I'm pretty close. We'll see if I can get the torque wrench down in there. Yeah, coming in from the top is the easiest method. I tried coming in from the bottom over here and even moving my winch cables out of the way, which I've got them routed through here. That didn't help at all. Just some thoughts on this socket. It's supposed to be a thin wall. I'll put the measurement that I come up with. I'm going to put some dial calipers on it. But I don't know. I'm thinking that maybe with a higher quality tool, you may be even able to get something thinner than this, because this step right here has me wondering. I mean, you know, I would think that that would be a thin wall, but maybe it's not high quality enough to get that thin before it'll break. So maybe investigate. I'll give you the number and see if you can come up with something even thinner than this one. This is 1 inch and 23 thousandths diameter. I don't know, guys. I've got this as close as I can get it. Those two bolt heads are in the way. I'm going to see if I can't get at it another way. Maybe this stubby wobble will work. It's in there. Success. Now reconnect your fog light harness. Next, we're going to be installing the Fairlead. I am going to be using the provided hardware by Grimm Off-Road with their winch plate. This is a M6 button head bolt. It's 50 millimeters long, and they're stainless washers. And they're provided nuts with a nice washer face there. They are nylox. I was worried about these being too long, but before I started filming here, I did check with the Fairlead on, and yeah, it's nowhere close to the winch. I would like them a little bit shorter, you know, if it was possible, because sometimes sticks, leaves, and stuff like that, mud gets up in there, and I mean, look how much room I've got with this winch. One thing you want to make note of is after, what I recommend is snugging this up a little bit, but just enough to where you can take a rubber mallet and maybe knock it down, knock it left, knock it right, but it not fall out of place. Because what you're trying to do, you can do it two ways, is feel with your finger. You don't want that line touching that rough steel edge. You want this hole right here, it's smaller than what's in the steel bumper. You want that to be the primary surface, no matter whether it's pulling up here, over here, down on the bottom. You want to make sure that that lip of the aluminum Fairlead right here is what your finger is able to grab. And if you really want to get thorough, you can probably put a mirror in there, shine a light, and see if it's even, you know, nice and level. But yeah, let's get to putting these nuts on here and tightening things up. I still think it's awesome that I can put my hand down here. I'm not used to that. That is a 15 millimeter nut, and I need to get a wrench down in there. All right, long handle, 15 combination wrench, 3/8 drive ratchet, M6 Allen socket. Hey guys, just a quick thought as I'm trying to get this Fairlead into its final position. I want to show you a couple things that I was considering. Being that your line feeds from the bottom of the spool, and thinking about this steel edge here, instead of being all the way equal around, I'm considering actually keeping this higher on the bottom because it does feed from the bottom. So if my anchor point in a recovery was kind of below the Jeep, it's going to be pulling that way. And I definitely want to make sure, because the first edge contacts is like right here. So I want to make sure that I'm far away from this steel. That way there's no rubbing. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. But another thought is if it was above the Jeep in elevation and you're pulling, you're not necessarily contacting this back edge right here. You're contacting it on this leading edge, the rounded part of the Fairlead. So honestly, right now I'm thinking I'm going to bias it up this way. I'm not really thrilled by the idea of using an M6 Allen bit on a stainless button head to hit 40 foot-pounds. It wouldn't be so bad if I could torque it from the back. I'd feel more confident then, because most of the force is being applied at the back, the twisting force. Hopefully this goes well. Just be nice and smooth. Make sure the bit's in there square. 40 foot-pounds. Well, that didn't work out. I guess my Harbor Freight M6 didn't like 40 foot-pounds, just like I was kind of paranoid about. Well, I'm back from the parts store with another M6 Allen socket, and I just need this to last a couple more rounds of torquing these button head bolts. You know, it could be worse. Could have rounded off the button head there. I'd rather the tool break, so there's that. We need to make sure we pull squarely. Nice and slow. You can see that thing flexing, man. It's moving. Man, I was almost there. All right. I'm calling that good. Yeah, see it, how it got seized up in there? That's that button head distorting a little bit, but I don't think I'll have a problem getting it out. Well, getting the button head out, I mean. Well, all right, so if it doesn't want to come out, turn it slightly the other way. Yeah, that's a clue right there that, yep, it started slipping in the button head. So make sure it fits tight. That's going to help. This one actually fits just a hair looser than the previous Allen socket. I don't know. Maybe if you spend more money on tools, maybe you'll get better quality. But now we just need to reinstall the skid plate. And torque them all to 18 foot-pounds. And a bonus tip, this winch, I noticed it must have moved as I was tightening it because it was just ever so slightly slanted this direction. And it was bothering me. So I undid the bolts on the bottom. And yes, you can't reach the front two with a torque wrench in a conventional manner. So if you come across that kind of problem, maybe you've collected enough tools to be able to improvise like I did. I'll show you what I did. I just want to take a second and show you what setup I used to tighten the two front winch plate mounting bolts after you've already installed the bumper. I'll leave a link in the description for the calculator that I used to come up with the new torque setting that you'll set it to. But just the quick cliff notes are, see how this is in the same plane? It's laying flat on a table. You'll need to stick with that plane. That's the only thing that's a little bit of a catch, because once you start changing this angle, that will change what you need to set it to over here. Now, if you wanted to avoid a calculation, if you kept it at a 90-degree angle, then you just use whatever the manufacturer specifies. And here's the bolt and nuts that I ended up using to complete the connection. It's 17 on this end, and the flare nuts I happen to have laying around are 15, so that worked out great. 17 on this end, 15 over here. What you'll do is just put the head of the bolt down in there, and whatever socket size for the nuts that you find to complete the connection. And with the winch plate mounting bolts that came with my winch, the heads were 15. So whatever sizes you got to work with, you can use a flare nut wrench if it's sturdy enough. I want to show you how beefy this one looks. You'll probably need one that's decent. And you'll just add your extension and connect that to the torque wrench. I would think a 6-inch connection will help you clear the sway bar disconnect motor. And we're done. In the next video, we're going to be making these covers to keep out debris, rocks, and mud to make cleanup easier, protect our fog light wiring, plus give the back of our factory steel bumper with end caps removed a more finished appearance.